What's going on, guys? Jordan here, coming back at you again with another episode of Beer Views. Tonight we're going to be doing another beer battle. This time we're going to be doing Miller Lite versus Keystone Lite. This is one, surprisingly, that I don't believe I've ever done. Last week we did Coors Light versus Keystone Light, and I really couldn't tell the difference between the two, so it ended up being a draw. This week I'm a little bit more confident. I think I'll know which one's which, because Miller Lite obviously has a distinct taste. I think it has more flavor than Keystone Light. Now, the big difference here is the price. Keystone Light is about $8.99, well, $9 for a 15-pack, as Miller Lite here runs you about $12 for a 12-pack. So, big price gap there. You get more beers for a lot less than the Miller Lite. Yeah, you might get a little bit more flavor here, but if you're on a budget, you're trying to get most beers as possible, Keystone's the way to go. They're both great tasting beers. I like both beers. Last week was actually the first time I've had this in a couple of years, actually. So I was actually shocked that it was indistinguishable from Coors Light. So, as always, I got both glasses here already labeled. So that's the Miller Lite, and Keystone Light. So they're on their designated sides. Let's go ahead and pour the Miller Lite first. I'm going to try to not pour too much of a head on these. Alright. So there's the Miller Lite. Now let's open up the Keystone Light. Already I think I notice a color difference. Well, maybe not. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me. Let's get them about equal here. Alright, so those are pretty much about the same. Well, let me see. Is there, I think Miller Lite is just a little bit darker. So since there is a color difference, let me just make sure I have those in the designated glasses. Okay. Since there is a color difference, I'm going to try to keep my eyes closed during the testing as well, just to be able to not be able to have any biases like, hey, I know which one's which. This one's obviously better. We're just going to go in this completely blind. So I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to switch the beers around. And we're going to, well, see which one is which. See if I can guess which one is Miller or Keystone. And see which one I like the best. So, closing my eyes now. I'm going to start mixing these around. Talking a little bit. That way I get confused. Not remembering which beer is which. So, we're just going to keep rotating these beers. Switching it up a little bit. Obviously, at this point, I have no idea which one is which. But we're going to do a few more rounds here. Just make sure I'm good and confused. And I don't know which beer is which. Alright. So like I said earlier, I'm going to keep my eyes closed because there is a color difference. Miller Lite is definitely more yellow, golden color. As the Keystone Light is more of a pale yellow color. So we're just going to start with the beer to my right. I'm going to go ahead and give it a smell. Doesn't smell like much. Just smells like a typical American adjunct lager. All right. Cheers, guys. Let's see what we think about this one. Pretty decent, not a lot going on. Tastes a little bit of a malt sweetness, graininess. But overall, pretty good beer. All right, let's try this one over here to my left. Now this one automatically has way more aroma, malty sweetness. Even more grainy than this one. It's also sweeter on the palate. There's a little bit of hoppiness to it, ever so slightly, which tells me that this is Miller Lite and that's Keystone Light immediately. This one does have more flavor than this one, but they're both good beers. Like I said earlier, you got to take into account the price. So I'm going to say that this is the Miller Lite. That is the Keystone Light. Opening up my eyes and just looking at them, I already know the answer. That's the Keystone. That's the Miller. So, now that we figured out which beer is which, I didn't think that was going to be hard at all. Excuse me. I will say that the Keystone Light is more carbonated than the Miller Lite. All right, which one do I think is the best? It really just depends on who you are. Are you looking to spend a little bit more money and have something that tastes a little bit better with more flavor? I would go with Miller. Now, if you're wanting someone to get the most bang for your buck, by the way, both of these beers are very close in ABV. 4.1% for the Keystone Light and 4.2 for the Miller Lite. I forgot to mention that in the beginning of the video. Both beers are good for what they are. 15 beers for $9 versus 12 beers for $12. And the difference is not all that big. I mean, this one's a little bit more watery. Finish is a little bit more smooth. Miller Lite has a little bit more malty sweetness, a little bit of hop bitterness to the back end of the beer. But they're so close. I can definitely see some people preferring this over Miller Lite. Some people don't like Miller Lite because of that slight and ever so slight bitter, hop kick you get at the end. So I can see people choosing this over Miller Lite, even though it is the cheaper beer. So really, it's all going to come down to who you are and what you prefer. I don't want this to end in another tie because they are different, and this does have more flavor. But can I really say that Miller Lite is better than Keystone Light just because of that little bit of flavor? Flavor-wise, Miller Lite wins because it is a little bit more flavorful, but ever so slightly. Keystone wins because you get more beer for less price. And it still tastes like beer. It's still a pretty good beer. So they both have their winning points here, which unfortunately means that there is another draw, another tie here on the beer battle between Miller Lite and Keystone Light. It's another draw, guys. One can't beat the other. This one might taste a little bit better, but this one is more value for money. They both have their pros. And of course, they have their cons as well, but they both have their argument. This one might taste a little bit better, but this one, you get more beer and it's cheaper. And the flavor is still good. It's another tie, guys. I didn't want it to end that way, but that's just how it's going to be. Again, Keystone slightly more carbonated, a little bit lighter, more pale in color. They're both really good beers for what they are. I was convinced that I didn't like Keystone Light anymore because I switched to Coors Light, because back when I was drinking a bunch of Keystone Light, I was a little bit more strapped for cash back then, and I needed, beer that was cheaper. So I would always go get a 15-pack at Walmart for like $8-9. I think it was like $7.98 back then. Like 2018, 2019, early 2020. But I mean, I still like it. I mean, I got a cooler right here full of it. I mean, I got 4 more of these in the cooler, along with Miller Lite. I mean, and Coors Light is usually my go-to, but I didn't even buy beer tonight because I realized I already had beer in the fridge from reviews and just beers that were laying around. So I said, I'm not going to pay any money tonight. I'm just going to drink what I have in the fridge. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to drink these. Still a little bit left in each can here. Go ahead and top both of them up. Get another sip of each. Now, obviously, well, maybe not. I was about to say there's more head to the Miller Lite compared to the Keystone Light, but they're very similar. Right at about a half finger right now. So, it's a draw. Keystone Light versus Miller Lite, or Miller Lite versus Keystone Light, ends in another draw. Now, if you guys have any suggestions on beers you'd like me to try in the future, leave it in the comment section below. If you guys want to see more beer battles, leave the comment down below and tell me what beers you want me to battle against each other. And I will do them. Granted, I haven't done them before, but I have been thinking about doing some revisits, because it's been a few years, so my palate's changed. But that's the conclusion. Miller Lite and Keystone Light is a draw. It's a tie. Who would have thought? But I will say this: if you are someone that enjoys a little bit more flavor and are willing to spend a little bit more money, go with the Miller Lite. If you're someone who still enjoys a good light lager but wants to save some money and you want more beer, pick the Keystone. Really just depends on who you are. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit me with a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. We're using both. We're cheersing with both. Thanks for watching. Cheers.